So this is the George Mason boat from 2021.
Okay.
It has a nice removable lid, and the controls fit up here in a nice waterproof container. Inside, there's 2 deep storage containers where batteries sat.
Can we rotate this maybe to face toward the camera?
So we're able to have 2 batteries here, and then there's holes in each of these compartments to allow wires to pass through. In addition, there's a lot of waterproof foam that was critical for it to survive any maladies that could it would find. It is screwed in on top, but it allows a little bit of water to come inside and move around in there. And then it has a strengthened stern, so it could have an outboard motor where the wires will come up through the back here.
So what it looks like I can see is that there's some nuts that are set in that line up, so I'm guessing that either more things bolt through that or that was how it was attached as well.
Right.
But yeah, as
Through
you
these
mentioned,
holes,
it's got
yep.
these recesses where they would have their propulsion batteries, and that's more central as ballast essentially in the boat.
Yep.
And then, you know, with the space that remains, making it unable to sink is probably not a bad idea.
And I think a lot of teams have found this kind of structure of you have a large motor on the back, moving the batteries a little past midpoint as the right way to like kind of balance out that weight to make sure you're getting as close to on plane as possible.
And this is all plywood.
Yep.
And it appears that it does have a layer of fiberglass on the outside of it. If I could make one sort of suggestion as if they were making an iterative, change to this boat, which they're not at this point, but if somebody was taking this boat and thinking about what would I do if I was to do something differently, there isn't a sort of like a lip around the perimeter, around the tow rail, that when this lid comes down to it, that's sort of a difficult sealing joint.
Yep.
So if you did something like this and you were able to extend even like just an inch of flat surface all along the top of the open deck here, then the joint to the deck to hull seal would be a lot easier to keep waterproof.
Sure. No, I think that's exactly right. Yeah, but it kind of shows how like some wood, a little bit of wood framing, and then fiberglass the outside to make sure you're protecting it. Kind of gets you where you need to be.
Yeah, and so it's just a little bit of a V shape, so helps it to have some stability, not completely flat. So it does have the ability to kind of punch through a little bit of waves, but otherwise it's sort of a relatively tried and true planing hull design.
Sure.
Cool. And one of the things that you had mentioned was the case that's on top, with the batteries and all of the the propulsion wiring inside. The case being plastic allowed for the RF signal to sort of pass through it, assuming that the antennas were not somehow externally mounted. Maybe they were externally mounted, but it lets you have all this electronics in a more easily accessible location. So when this is all bolted together and not super easy to get into, you could flip a couple of latches and get into this compartment where you maybe can arm it and get a sense of voltages and turn on your receiver and all those different kinds of things as well.
Well, and I think too, waterproof, but also very much exposed to the air. So the little bit of heat buildup that you can get in that component, also is being dissipated by its location.
Yeah.
Well, thanks a lot. Yeah.
I also like their cradle that they built. So that way it is something that you can work on at a more comfortable height than down on the floor. And then you could bring this to PEP and you don't have to have the boat laying on the ground to spin up the motors, check that everything's working. It's sort of nice, and then you can roll it right down to the water for the launch.
It's like those small things that make a world of difference.
That is a good detail to keep in mind, something like that. So, awesome.